Not bad.
Okay, I think this works.
Live and on the scene. Yeah. Nice.
All right.
Well.
Okay, here we are.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right. Oh, that's good.
That is a good one. I didn't get that last time. I think I stuck to the Orion last time. That's good though.
All right, hey everyone, I'm Bob. This is Lance. You might know him as Freelance Travels, and I'm JapanSoFar, and I'm excited to be doing my first collab video, and I'm doing my first collab video with Lance here. And we are going to talk about what you need to do when you are separating or retiring from the military. I am someone who's separated from the military, and Lance here is somebody that's currently going through the retirement process. So in this video, we're going to drink a couple of beers here at Beer Rize down in Japan, where we are right now. What a great venue to do this video. And we're going to talk about the process of getting out of the military, what you need to think about, what you need to be prepared for, and a lot of other things to discuss about getting out of the military. So I will let Lance start. Lance?
Yeah, so hey, Freelance Travels, not nearly as popular as my buddy here, but shooting to get there. I was always told to start the process at about the 2-year mark out or more, so I'm probably at about 2.5 out for right now. But looking to transition out and retire summer of 2025. Oh wow.
Arigatou gozaimasu. Sorry.
Pretzels have arrived.
Pretzels here. Thank you very much.
Bam, I'm gonna get those on there. Arigatou gozaimasu.
These look amazing.
Yeah, oh yeah, that looks good. So it's February of 23. It's hard to say 2023. It's 2023 already. So summer of 25, we'll be retiring.
March.
Yeah, you're right. Here in a couple of days. So I went through the pre-retirement seminar recently on Camp Foster, and for the first go round anyway, I'm going to go through it at least once, probably twice more, and then maybe take my wife to one of those just so she can hear all the same information that I'm hearing. But yeah, I went through the pre-retirement seminar, and one of the things that I'm working on right now is just compiling and making sure that all of my stuff's in my medical records. Had a bit of a disaster on the way over to Japan from Colorado a few years back, and that thing got lost in the mail. But luckily, 2006 and onwards, they started converting everything over to a kind of digital system. I think that's called Alta, if I'm not mistaken. Luckily, I had copies, so I took what I did have in, and they took what they had digitally and compiled that bad boy. And so I've got about a 90% solution right now for having all of my records together. But that's kind of an ongoing process. I've got physical therapy going on and some other things of that nature. But yeah. In terms of getting moved and everything, and it's something I meant to go over in my most recent video, but I didn't touch on it. When I was going through the seminar, someone brought up, hey, if I want to move from here to Camp Pendleton for out processing, but then my home of selection is going to be over in the Philippines, will the military pay for all of my household goods to get moved? And that was an important one that I didn't even think about when I was talking to you last time, or when I made that most recent video. But in terms of boxing all of your things up and getting it onto a boat to get it moved across the world, yes, the military will cover that. But when it comes to things like import taxes and off the boat into the local customs process and then getting to you, that's not all covered. So we're going to completely purge everything we have here and move to Thailand with what we can put in our bags and what we can put on our backs. Yeah. So
so a couple of great points there. Medical records are so important. You want to make sure you have the medical records and that you know that everything is in there, because medical records are going to be really important when it comes time to do your VA claims. And your VA claims are a really long process, so having all the medical records on hand and having all that information available is going to make that process as short as possible. If you have to go back to the base that you separated from, or go to the VA and get your medical records, it's just going to add time to a process that already takes 7 months to a year. And then, what was the other thing you said? You're talking about medical records and
medical records, and then I guess just the process for how you prepare your disability rating and all of that thing. There's different ways to do that as you get ready to separate. So there's the BDD, or the benefits delivered at discharge, which you start 180 days out to your 90 days out kind of window, and you get all of that done. And it's I think that's a better process. If you know that from the 90 days to like day 0, you aren't going to have anything else pop up, or any hospital visits or anything of that nature. But yeah, you basically get everything done at that 180 to 90 day out window, and then it's basically set for you. So when you get out, I don't think you're even waiting a month typically for your rating to populate, because I think the last piece of the puzzle is the VA receiving your DD-214 to kind of finalize the process. And is that what you did when you separated, or was?
No, so when I separated, I actually haven't done any of my VA claims yet.
Right.
When I separated here on Okinawa, and because of COVID, the VA rep that usually comes to Okinawa wasn't coming.
Right.
So I have not yet been able to do my VA claims, and I'm actually going to be making a video about the VA claims process when I start that. You can start the VA claims process during your retirement or during your military transition, like you were talking about. I didn't do that personally.
Yep. Yeah. And so the other option would be the FDC, or the fully developed claim, and that's when you go through your appointments, and I guess you have all your paperwork in order, and then you just do it outside of the military service. Yeah. And there's 2 or 3. There may be a handful of guys that are, what do they call them, the reps, the VA reps that are here on island. I think Jeff Hanscom is the name that comes up pretty often, but there's 2 or 3 of those guys that will help you with your claims along the way and get it finalized. I haven't reached out to them or met them just yet, but if you're out there watching this, hi. So.
Kevin Sklogowski.
Yes,
on Kadena.
Right.
Him as well. And I actually went to Kevin. Kevin, if you're watching this, shout out. You really know your stuff. So if you're thinking about retiring or separating and staying here on Okinawa, definitely get with Kevin. He's at the Airman Family Readiness Center on Kadena. You have to make an appointment, so just go in there, go to the front desk, and just ask to get put on his calendar.
And not strictly Air Force, right? That's for everyone across the board, right?
That's not just Air Force. That's for everyone. So I guess we should have said at the beginning of the video, I'm an Air Force veteran. He's soon to be a Marine Corps veteran. And another big difference is, between us is that I was enlisted and you're commissioned, prior enlisted, going into retirement.
Right.
And I don't know, is the process different for officers versus enlisted?
I don't believe so. So if you're in the Marine Corps, we have the Marine Corps Retirement and Separations Manual, or the MARCOR SETMAN, if you will, for short. You got to make everything an acronym and make it difficult to remember. But in there, you have all your appendices at the end, right? So Appendix J is the form that you would fill out as you prepare for retirement, and it's 3 or 4 pages long, but that's what you use to actually request through your commanding officer for your approved retirement date, and that makes its way all the way up to the headquarters Marine Corps and Bickety Bam. They'll lock in your retirement date, which is kind of difficult to change, I think, once it's set. But it's an Appendix J, and I imagine every branch has their own specific form that they would use. But yeah, that's how you get the process rolling anyway. Yeah.
So another thing I want to talk about in this video, and I've talked about this on a few videos in my channel before, but I can't emphasize this enough, is making sure that your money is right before you separate or retire. And the reason I say this is because if you only watch Lance's channel, you might not know me, but I work as a finance consultant for the Marine Corps 3MEF G8 office, 3MEF Comptroller office on Camp Courtney. And part of what I do in my day-to-day job is I reconcile federal debts that the government has. Usually these come in the form of DTS. So anybody that is separating or retiring, please get in your DTS and make sure that you don't have any outstanding debts. I've literally processed hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt for people that got out of the military without settling their DTS vouchers. And, you know, this is something not so much the Air Force, but the Marine Corps, they do those partial payments in your DTS vouchers where, you know, you'll get a $3,000 or $4,000 advance ahead of your trip, and then that advance is supposed to be paid back when you settle your voucher. Well, some people either don't settle their voucher, or they'll submit a voucher, it'll get returned by the approving official, and they'll never go in and fix it and resubmit it. And then I'm looking at the records 2, 3, 4 years later, and I don't have a good email address for you because you never updated your DTS profile. You still have your military email address in there. There's no way to get a hold of you, and I have no choice but to go ahead and zero out your voucher and process your debt. And I've done this for like countless Marines, and it doesn't matter, officer, enlisted, the process is the same. So if you owe that federal debt and you're no longer in the service, what will happen is you'll go to file your income taxes 1 year, and the IRS is going to say, oh, you actually don't get your income tax refund this year because you have a federal debt for XXX amount of $1,000, and they will basically just take your income taxes, or you know, it could be out of your retirement too. Any federal income that you have coming in, if you have a federal debt, that federal income coming in is going to be used to pay that debt. So make sure that your government travel card, your DTS, all that stuff is right before you separate or retire from the military.
Yeah, I just laugh. Using your government travel charge card for retirement expenses. Good idea or bad idea?
Don't do that.
We had someone retire recently, and I, as a company commander, I get to deal with all of this because the lady, or one of the ladies on the team that manages all of the travel charge cards, those accounts for the entire MEF out here. We had someone separate recently, of course higher rank because this is MEF staff, right? But they separate, and they weren't supposed to use that. They knew better. They used it on the way out for all of the lodging that they needed. So that probably that 10 days or 2 weeks window, right? You gotta live somewhere because you've checked out of housing, or you've checked out of the, you know, your house on the local economy, if you will, that you're renting. You got to stay somewhere, and it's not free and it's not cheap here on Okinawa. So people will run that credit card up, and then they vacate, and then of course that at usmc.mil or at whatever .mil.gov account they have is gone now, and they can't be reached. So yeah, I'd completely forgotten about that. That's why I chuckle when you you brought that up.
On the same note, go and look at your DTS. You know, you could be owed per diem or something that you haven't claimed yet. So you could actually have money coming to you inside of DTS. So in DTS you have 5 years to settle any records. Now, if you owe the government money, per the 3MEF OTO policy, we can take action on your record after 45 days. But if you are owed money, then we don't look at that. You know, that's on you to find. A lot of people don't understand. So I'm going off on a DTS tangent here, but I think this is important for making sure you don't owe any money when you get out of the military. A lot of people think that DTS was designed to pay them for their travel, and that's not true. DTS does not care if you get paid, right? That's something you have to go into DTS and tell it to do. DTS was designed to make sure that the government gets paid and that all the government's money is accounted for. So yes, DTS does process your travel claims, but that's not its core purpose, right? It's not going to do that automatically. You have to go into DTS and make it process your travel claim, right? DTS was designed, the automation in DTS was designed to make sure that the government gets paid, not you.
Good points. Really good points. Yeah. Don't use that travel charge card when separating. Period. Have a little savings set aside. The
JTR, Joint Travel Regulation, that will tell you everything you are and are not allowed to use your government travel card for. There's also, I can't remember, but you can just Google it, the DoD government travel charge card policy. That will also tell you what you are and are not allowed to use your government travel charge card for.
And DLA, that dislocation allowance, is or isn't a thing in retirement. I have to go and look that up, but I don't know that it is. So on a typical PCS move, you would rate DLA, and we've typically gotten, I think, $2,600 roughly, depending on where we're at and where we're moving to. And it may not even be based on that, but I think that's about what we got moving from Colorado to Okinawa a few years ago, was roughly $2,600.
I do not believe you get DLA.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah, so that's something to think about too. Is you're not getting free money that you've been used to getting throughout all of those PCS moves leading up to separation or retirement. Yeah.
Right. And another thing is, like, if you are retiring, of course you're going to have that retirement money coming in, but that's only going to be 50% of your top 3 earning years while you were in. And if you're separating, you don't get anything unless, of course, you process a VA claim. So before you separate or retire, make sure that your money is right. Make sure that you're going to have enough to live on before you start working or before you start getting that income in that you're used to getting. It may mean some lifestyle changes for you. It may mean having to give up things that you're used to having. It may mean selling assets. It may mean liquidating some things that you have, like brokerage accounts or 401ks, TSPs, things like that. Yeah. So just have a good plan for your spending. Have a good idea of what you're going to be making as a civilian, and kind of have a good idea of how long it's going to take you to start making that. For example, I separated in 2019. I had to wait about 9 months to start working again. That includes my my terminal leave. But 9 months is a long time, and now I had money to live for that 9 months, but I know not everybody does. Everyone's financial situation is different. So if you are going to be, kind of in a financial hardship when you get out, make sure that while you're getting your full income, that you're paying down debts and that you were, getting rid of as much financial burden as you possibly can, so that you don't have to deal with it when you get out.
I would say one thing that I thought about was like a worst case scenario. So let's say I'm going to get out and get between 55 and 60% of my military base pay, right? Because it's based on the years that you served on active duty. So at 20 years, just cutting it flat, at 20 years of service active duty, you rate 50% of your base pay. That's your basic pay, no additional entitlements, no jump pay, dive pay, language skills, all of that goes away. You're getting 50% cut right down the middle of your basic pay. So the way I like to think about it is, if I don't want to work again, and that's pretty rare, right? Because a lot of folks retiring are between, let's say, 37, 38 years of age to about 45 or even older, depending on what time you came in and how many years you spent in the military. But if I don't want to work again, or I don't want to work for anyone else, because the pre-retirement seminar, they asked us, does anyone here plan on not working again? And I raised my hand, and they said, well, how old are you going to be? And I said, I'm going to be 43, 44 years old. And they were like, what are you going to be doing? And I said, growing mangoes in Thailand and doing YouTube full time. And everyone kind of scoffs at it, and they're like, oh yeah, sure, right, Donald, yeah. But then someone said, no, he means he doesn't want to work for anyone else. And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. Now that you put it that way. But the way I like to look at it is, a worst case scenario is 50 whatever percent of my basic pay. Can I live on that? Are my debts paid off? And if I get 0% VA disability, the worst case scenario is that I'm going to get 50 whatever percent of my base pay based on it'll be 24 years and change when I retire in 25. But yeah, that's what I look at, and that's what I make sure that I'm going to be comfortable with, where my family and I will be living, and that'll be Thailand, so cost of living will be lower. But yeah, that's what I think we'll be comfortable with, and we'll see when we get there. But that's the plan thus far.
There you go. And yeah, I would say also just be aware of the benefits that you have. Everyone has the GI Bill. Some people use some of it while they're in. Like, I used part of my GI Bill because when I was in grad school, I would tap out my TA. Yeah. So I used my GI Bill to pay for the rest of my grad school for the year until my TA reset. But just know things like that. Know how much GI Bill you have left. The level of income you want. Is that going to require you to have an education or to go to some vocational program and learn those skills and get those certifications? Yeah. And how, if you have maxed out your GI Bill, if you've transferred your GI Bill to a family member, then how are you going to pay for that? I know, and it's a very unfortunate thing in the military. A lot of the training that you get is not recognized on the outside because it doesn't come with a commercial certification or something like that. So although you can do the job, you're probably an expert, you've been doing it for 20 years, you don't have the certification, right? So it's not going to be commercially recognized in the private sector until you go to some kind of schooling or program and get that certification.
I spent 5 years, my initial first enlistment, working on the Prowler in the Marine Corps. So that's the electronic attack aircraft that the Marine Corps used to have. Spent 5 years doing that, got out of the Marine Corps, and then didn't pursue any education my first enlistment. That was like mistake number one. And then two, I was kind of spoiled to think that I was actually going to get some employment based on that experience getting out of the Marine Corps. And it turns out not so much. Even though I rewired aircraft and work on all the electrical systems, landing gear systems, you name it, navigation, I didn't have an aircraft and power plants license to work, an FAA certified license. So all of that was out of my reach. So I went to college for other things and ended up coming back in the Marine Corps and then later pursuing a commission. But yeah, just because you did it in the military doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to do it when you get out.
That's right.
Unless you have those certifications to go with it.
Right, and that has to do with you're going from working for the military to working for a public company that they have investors and they have to pay insurance and all that kind of stuff. So having that commercial certification, that's why it's required, so that they can satisfy insurance investors and the business side of things. But yeah, that's definitely a true thing. People don't know. I used to be an aircraft mechanic as well. I used to be an engineering tech in the Air Force, and I know a lot of people that got out did not have A&P licenses, and they were not really able to find good work. The only work they could find was working on military aircraft, which is the same job they did when they were in, so what's the point of getting out? But yeah, so definitely look at what GI Bill you have left. Look at what level of income you want to or need to make when you get out, and kind of do some aligning there. Do you have enough GI Bill left to pay for the certification to get that desired income?
Yeah, and worry about you, right? You and yours. What do you need? The whole keeping up with the Joneses in base housing or whatever. That's just get that out of your mind. Worry about yourself and your family. But, yeah.
And another thing is, and this is a video I've been planning to make, but I'll talk about it a little bit here. It really is like a mental shift going from being active duty military to getting out and saying, okay, well now what do I do? Right? For however many years you got up every day, you knew what time you had to be at work, you knew what you were going to wear, right? You knew what you were going to do when you got to work, and standards, expectations, all that you knew. When you get out of the military, it's like, okay, well now I'm my own person. What do I do? And that way it can be kind of stressful, and it was stressful for me. And I ended up going into mental health and going to counseling and therapy and stuff, and I still do. And it really helped me out a lot. So I know veterans have probably heard this before, but don't be afraid to seek help once you get out of the military. There's nothing wrong with it. It's immensely beneficial. Like I said, I feel like it helped me out a lot, and it kind of helped me to mentally absorb the transition to the civilian, into civilian life.
Yeah, and there's outlets and resources out there. So if you pay taxes, and everyone does, you're paying for that stuff anyway. So might as well seek it out and use it. Yeah. What else? These pretzels aren't half bad. Pretzels are good.
These pretzels are amazing. I'm loving this pretzel.
One of those wipes over there. Right. Pour favor. Oh yeah. Thank you. What else?
You can't get soft pretzels anywhere in Japan, but you can get them here.
Yeah.
And they're amazing.
In Thailand, they have the little Annie Ann's
Oh, do they?
stands in the malls now. Yeah, my wife's over there tearing it up right now. I'm sure. Yeah.
You know, I only went to Pattaya, and I don't remember seeing an Auntie Anne's pretzels there. Maybe, though.
Yeah, I think I've seen them in Korat, Thailand. You know, Korat's come a long way. And those of you watching who've been to Thailand, or maybe you haven't, there was probably about a year gap where we didn't go to Korat, Thailand to visit the in-laws and the family there. But when we finally made it back, and this is a few years ago, you know, I remember them having one mall in Korat, and it was called The Mall. That's what it was called. That was really only the one of the few big venues that you could go to for shopping. And after a year or so being gone, we get back, and there are 3, 4, 5 malls have popped up that are on par with anything in Bangkok, and it's pretty wild. Terminal 21, and what's the other one called?
I haven't been to Thailand in so long.
Yeah.
I think 2013 was the last time I was in Thailand.
Yeah. We're really waiting on the Peach Air. Used to have a direct flight pre-COVID. I don't know if that's going to demonetize things saying I don't know if we can say COVID on a video, but anyway, we'll cut that out.
I think you could. I've said COVID before.
Pre-sickness, you could go down to Naha's airport here and get that direct flight. And if you've been watching my videos, I talk about it all the time. I rant and rave about the Peach Air flight that used to be their direct flight from Naha to Bangkok. 4-hour flight, and you could get it for as cheap as $100. And that went away and hasn't come back yet. So that went away in 2020, and we haven't seen it since. So
Yeah,
hopefully that slowly
Well, I know
comes back around.
the international terminal at Naha is open now.
Yep.
I'm not sure what countries they're flying to.
Yep.
I used to be able to get direct flights on Peach to like Seoul,
Yep.
Taipei.
Yep. So Taipei is back.
Okay.
So when the wife flew out here recently, she used China Air and flew from here to Taipei. That's what I'll use when I go over in April. She flew China Air from here to Taipei and then on to Bangkok. So that's what I'll use, that same route. And then when we come back, it'll be Hong Kong Air. Back through, we'll go through Hong Kong and then back to Oki. But yeah, man, waiting on that Peach to come back. They do like these flash sales, and you could get it one way for $60, and it was ridiculous. Yeah.
Peach Air, sponsor us. sponsor our channels.
This is good. This is good. We've been meaning to do this
Yeah.
for a little bit.
My first collab, and your first collab.
It is. It is. What does this spit it out in? 4K or?
This will be 1080.
Nice. Okay. That's still good. Quicker upload too.
Right. Yeah. Maybe someday I'll get that. Well, my DJI Pocket does 4K.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I want to change my mind when I set it to upload, and it's like, you'll reach 4K processing and it's like, So I started setting it, and then I'll just go to bed. So when I get up the next day, it's fully processed, SD, HD, 4K, and then I'll upload it.
Since I got my iMac with an M1 chip, it renders videos so fast.
I wanted to get a MacBook here recently. I didn't. I think they were getting hard to come by on base, but I went and I sold my desktop. So I sold my desktop and got an Acer. That was my most recent video. Was the
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 Predator.
unboxing that I was trying to do as good as Bob, but I'm not on that level yet. But I tried to unbox it and just show everyone the ins and outs of it and what it looked like. But pretty good thus far. I thought I was going to lose a lot of performance going from desktop to laptop, but it's gotten pretty good. They can cram some goodness in there. I don't know.
Oh, the Apple's M1 chip is just it's a beast.
Yeah.
For processing and rendering.
And the M2's commy out, or did it come out already?
The M2's out. So I got a MacBook Air with an M2.
Nice.
I haven't tried to render a video on it yet.
Yeah.
But that's just like I wanted the M2 on my MacBook Air because I use it as my work computer.
Yep.
And when I do like stuff in Excel,
Yeah.
I can like do formulas and stuff really really fast.
Wow, nice. Yeah.
Like so like I had to build this brief every month called the KPI brief, like key performance indicators, and I have to brief the G8 kernel and
Sure.
and like the G8 deputy and everything. And I have to do a lot of formulas to get the reports to turn into graphs and stuff.
Yeah.
And like my government computer is so ridiculously slow.
It's that Dell.
That Dell, yeah. Well, no,
Alpha 9100.
It's the HP. It's the HP ProBook 600, I think.
Yeah.
It's a piece of garbage, and it's like got a 9-year-old processor in it. And like the military keeps like Sorry, I shouldn't talk bad about the client. The government. But yeah, the government tries to just shoehorn all this software into their computers without updating the hardware, and you end up with a machine that's like barely usable. The joys of working for the government.
Did a huge update recently on all the work computers, and it takes them out of the game for a couple hours. And mine comes back online, and before I'd done the I guess it has nothing to do with the update, but before doing that, I noticed that my case was not, after a recent hardware upgrade, the case wasn't on there right. It wasn't sitting right. So it was always like off balance, and I couldn't tell. You know, it was like a table where I needed to loosen one of the legs to make it fit, but it, you know, I popped the cover off of it and noticed that the battery was bulging. So I don't know how long before that bad boy was going to blow up on me, but Jesus. I called help desk and they came down and took it out. And, you know, gave me a new to me battery and patched it in, and the computer didn't like that new battery, so I ended up just taking it out on my own and, you know, plugged my computer. I just don't even have a battery for it now, so it's once it's off wall power, it's can't use it.
Yeah.
Only the best.
Only the best.
Yeah, pretzel's tasty.
Yeah, it was.
What else? What
All
else?
right. We got about half an hour of footage. You think that's enough?
I think that's probably a good one. I think that's good. I think we knocked out some good chunks there.
So we're going to end the video here. Make sure you subscribe to me, JapanSoFar, and make sure you subscribe to Freelance Travels. Comment down below. Let us know what you plan to do when you separate or retire from the military. Thank you everyone for watching, and thank you, Lance, for doing this collab.
No, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And we'll see everybody in the next video.
See you guys. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, let's do one for the thumbnail.
One? Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll be
golden.
That'll be a good thumbnail.